Determine the domain and range of each function. Technically, if a function fails the vertical line test, it's not a function. If a graph of a function fails it, it's not a function. The vertical line test is where you have every vertical line can only cross the function once and only once. So this guy definitely fails the vertical line test because we have vertical lines that cross twice. Technically, this guy fails the vertical line test because you'll have multiple y values for one particular x value. So neither one of these are functions actually, but we're still going to answer the question though. Domain means possible x values, and range means possible y values. So with this particular function though, it seems like x is always the same. It's true that this function is the graph, this is the graph of the function x equals 2. So only x can be 2. I think in that case you write it in curly braces if it's only 1 point. But when it comes time for y, x is domain and y is range. When it comes time for the range, it seems like y can be anything. And so technically we write that as minus infinity to infinity, or we use the words all real numbers. On this other guy over here, although we failed the vertical line test, we still try to make an attempt to answer the question. And what are the possible x values? It seems like you can have any x value you want from this point on to the right. That point is at -3. So -3 on to infinity. Any of those guys are the possible x values. But the way you write it is going to be, you have to be careful. You can't equal infinity, so we use parentheses. But you definitely have x values being -3, so we use a square bracket when we can equal it, use a parentheses when we can't. When it comes time for y, looks like you can have any y between these two y values, -1 all the way up to, is that 5? Yeah, 5, +5. Any of those y values are possible, -1 up to 5, including those two guys. Include them, use a square bracket. Don't include them, use a parentheses. So that takes care of the first question. On to the second question. Okay, second question. Sorry, what's going on here? Okay, second question. They give us a function and ask you to evaluate the function. So let's do that. One second here. Okay, so the first one is to plug in 0 to these two functions. We have f, we have g. Plug a 0 and replace x by 0. When you're plugging something in, you're replacing the variable. So in f of 0, we're saying every place you see an x, replace it with a 0. So 3 times 0 squared is 0, 3.2 times 0 is 0, and then we just add on 8. So we just get an 8 out for the y value when x is 0. Uh-oh, what just happened there? Okay, great. Now on to g of 0. But look, g is a constant. G is 9.8. There's no x to plug into. G will always be 9.8. So these are your two answers then. We have 8 for f of 0, and we have 9.8 for g of 0. So then we have in part B, f of 2. So we're going to take and plug a 2 in every place we see an x. 3 times 2 squared, 3.2 times 2, and then we add on an 8. So how does that work? You have to do the exponent first here and square 2 and get 4. Squaring 2 is 2 times 2. So 3 times 4 is a 12. 3.2 times 2, if you take 3.2 and double it, you get 6.4. So we take 12, we take 6.4, we take 8, add them all together. You could put the 12 and 8 together to get 20. 26.4 is the result of f of 2. So then we have g of 2. So now g of 2 will be, once again, 9.8. There's no x to plug in. It's going to be 9.8. Now what they want you to do with these two guys, f of 2 and g of 2, they want you to multiply. So they want you to take f of 2 and multiply it by g of 2. Take 26.4 and multiply it by 9.8. Don't want to do that by hand. Hopefully they allow you to use a calculator. Let's go grab one. Alright, so we're going to take 26.4 and multiply it by 9.8, and that'll be the answer to the question. 258.72. Okay, great. So that's our answer to part B. And then the answer, there were two different answers to part A. 9.8 for g of 0, 8 for f of 0. Okay, great. On to the next question. That's page 1. So on to page 2, where they ask questions about a part-time student and their cost of tuition. Trying to get it all on one here. This is an entire question on one page. Okay, great. Okay. Okay. Okay, great. Hold on one second here.